So we are at the milling machine, continue making this into the mushroom shape that I'm looking for the release. So we're going to start by clamping it in here and finding the centre. I'm going to start just so we know where we are with a 5mm gauge pin, which just perfectly fits through a 5mm hole. That way I can set the height that it's clamped at, and I know where the hole is, 2.5mm above the plate. Take that out so I don't destroy it accidentally. Put that over there. Oh, now we're going to find the sides and the relative centre there, so we're going to use a basic wiggler for that. So here. As you bring this wiggly thing in contact with the side of the surface, as it makes a contact, it will become more and more concentric and make it run true. The wiggle becomes less and less and less. And then when you go past that centre, creep, 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 perfect. And as soon as you go past that centre, it breaks. So now we know that that edge, obviously you've got the diameter of the wiggler, which is 10mm, so that edge is fine. The roller is really there. Take it to the other side. And go the other way. Find the edge of this side. There we go. Now if we half that, that half is relative to each side, so that's now time to check. We'll put this, can you see that here? Put that to 0 on the X. That is dead centre. Yeah, so now what we're going to do is we are going to find the tool height. And you call it here. Appropriate milling cutter for delicate work on aluminium. 16mm carbide roughing tool. So if we now bring this over here. So now we want to find the relative distance of the bottom of the cutter to our workpiece. So we get close. Now we'll use our gauge pin again and put it underneath, nowhere near. We can just creep it up until we just make contact. See that? That's better. We're just gonna creep it up and slightly. How far away? About a mil away. Starting right. Just making contact there, not letting it pass underneath. drop it down again until we get where we can. There is other ways of finding your bottom of your tool height, but I mean this isn't hypercritical, it's pretty close. It'll get you within, I don't know, hundredth of a mil. Just by feel. Another way I like to use is with a old machinist trick with a bit of cigarette paper. You spin the machine, and when the cigarette paper disappears, you know you're at that height, and that's about, I think it's a thousandth of an inch accuracy. But I don't like doing that directly on top of me vise, just in case something goes wrong, and I don't want to mar the top of my vise. So I've just got contact with that 5mm gauge pin, so I know that the Z height is 5mm above the centre of these jaws, and this centre of the hole on my workpiece was based on the jaws. So if we now, so that tool height there is the same as the top of the hole, and that's where we want to go. So if we zero that, but actually you want to go 2.5mm lower because we're at the centre of this. So now that we've zeroed that, we'll take it up 2.5mm. Do by hand, let's not be completely lazy. There we go. Zero that. So that is where we want to be. Put that into place so that doesn't move. And now we can drop that down. I don't want to touch this, otherwise that'll throw all the calculations out. Right, next thing, because we've got our centre, I want the width of this to be 20mm. So I know we're centre. So if I put that on centre now, make sure it's going to collide with the workpiece. Get it around centre. That's the centre. I want to come across, it's a 16mm cutter, so I'll come across 8mm. That's basically puts the edge of this cutter on the dead centre of the hole. But I want it 20mm wide, 10mm aside, so we need to come across another 10mm, so we need to set this at 18. Just not fully lock, but we'll just knit that up so it doesn't wander too much. Again, we're not making a spaceship here. I'm happy as long as it's within, you know, a thousandth of a millimetre. Right, so that's where I want to be on this side, and obviously that's a bit too much I wouldn't want to cut that much off. Plus it's a thin bit of aluminium essentially, I don't want to take that off in a single cut. So we'll drop that down, and we'll see how this reacts. We'll go maybe hours in contact. That's not good. We're just touching the workpiece there. Right, that's fine. I told you I'd show everything, whether it was good or bad. No big deal, it's where we're going to cut off anyway. All we need to do is just double check this hasn't moved. We'll reset it. Gauge pin back in, set that down. It's taking a little nip out of the workpiece, but it's on the part that's getting cut off. So we want that back. We're still making now. We need to go back to a wiggler. Do it all again. See, some people would edit this out. Not me. I showed you. Yeah. Like I said, if I'm going to make a mistake, I guess I'll make it. Show everybody. Can't help have you thinking I'm perfect. Back to the 10mm. I've left on that bench. Luckily it's got a bit of aluminium. It didn't chip my cutter. aluminum. As it happens, funny story that. Partly related to the part one where I mentioned the Americans and the solder. It's a bit like that with aluminium and aluminum, but not as it seems. Because although aluminium's been around, well, alum, the ore, has been around for a very long time. It wasn't until sort of early 1800s where they were starting to actually refine the alum to get something vaguely resembling the aluminium we know today, which it still wasn't close. And it wasn't till sort of a bit later on, around 1830, 1840, 1850, something like that. There was lots of people, there was Danish, French, Germans, all trying to refine it. And it was actually a British bloke who got the closest at the time to what we know as aluminium. And because of the ore alum, he called it aluminum. So it's actually a British guy who sort of invented the aluminium, didn't because it was around before, refined it into aluminium. He called it aluminum. So technically, because that's the first one, aluminum is correct. And the Americans adopted aluminum, everybody else called it aluminium, and then even though we sort of invented it, but we didn't, called it aluminum, we now call it aluminium, even though the guy who thought of it called it aluminum. So in this case, the Americans are right. Crazy. But don't get me started on laser. That's another story. How can you change the letter in an acronym? Anyway, let's not get tied up in things like that. We're here to machine some aluminium. Aluminum. Every day's a school day. Like that. Knock that off. We're going up. I'm blocking your view again, aren't I? I'm trying to do this quickly so we can get back to where we were 5 minutes ago. Just make contact there. Yep, that'll do me. So we're going to zero that one, and we're at the top, so we're going to go down by 2.5 mil. Because that's where target. I ain't never missed a depth. I ain't gonna start it now. You can do it, Harry. Anyway, right, back to where we were. So that's for zero. I'm gonna come back down. Sensible depth of cut. We'll move out the way this time. I want to come across to 18 because that was where the centre of the cutter plus the 10 mil on the side. Like we've been here before. Sail straight past it. Let's check it's clear. It's clear. Let's start again. Let's get a bit more speed. See how it reacts to this 2.5 then. These roughing cutters are brilliant for removing huge amounts of material. They don't leave a perfect finish. Like I say, we're not building a spaceship here, and nothing that can't be fixed with a wipe of wet and dry. We're close to the jaws of the chuck now where it's clamped, so hopefully you'll get less vibration. Lovely. That's about right, isn't it? Take this. For the last tip. Send it. And then we shall maybe take slightly less of a cut. 80 mil anyway. Technically I'm climb cutting here because I'm going the same direction for the cutting. So when I was cutting on this side, I was cutting against the rotation of the cutter. On this side, because I'm cutting the same way, I'm cutting following the direction of the cutter. This way, technically, it gives you a better finish, but small mills like this, not necessarily a good idea because the cutter's actually trying to draw the work. Because you're going with it, it's trying to pull the workpiece out of it. the tool holder. As it happens, it's a flat piece and I've got it's well clamped. I'm not taking massive cuts, you know, considering, so it should be fine. Just another snippet of information. Probably be coming from the backside for these cuts. But we're here now. Right, a little deburr and a clean up will settle that. But there we go. Kind of there. Next stage is this top piece here is a bit, doesn't serve a purpose. So what we'll do is when this clamps into the shoe or whatever, how would we decide what we're calling that? Shoe? Was it a shoe? Carriage thing? We'll call it a shoe. When this slides into the shoe, it's pivoted on this point. That bottom section doesn't really serve a purpose other than giving strength to this hole. But so I'll take that down as much as I dare, still leaving plenty of strength there. Meaning that this shoe can be lower profile and lower down because I want to get this as close as possible to the deck to give as much clearance for the stretchy elastic bit thingy bit, you know what I mean. Right, so we'll have a look at that, decide how much we're going to take off. We'll probably lop the bottom off of that and we'll give it a clean up, and then after that then we'll make the shoe. Okay, so with my machine now a little mushroom. I've deburred it. So one that's going to pivot on a pin. It's quite satisfying, that a little fidget spinner. And now we're going to machine the shoe. What was it? Oh, the plastic shoe. This support shoe that it's going to pivot in. Got a bit of a chunky chunk of aluminium off a machine dismantled a little while ago, which is ideal for it. So we're going to mark this up, work out where I want to put my slots and my cuts and things like that, and drop my stuff. Come with me, let's see over here. What can we see? There we go. You see that? Whoa. Whoa. Over there. Let's get a bit closer. Right. So, let's get an idea of what we're doing. Don't need that. It's a bit dusty. Have a look at what I want to try and do. So we've got a block of aluminium. I'll ignore the dodgy corners for the time being, which is 90 by 40, which is this. Can you see that? Is that right? Is that close enough? Can we get any closer with this? See what we're doing. Apologies if you can't see. Zoom. Where are you going? You're drifting. There we go. Right, which is a block of aluminium. We are going to cut a 6mm slot down the centre. Leave a little bit of meat on the bottom, so if that's 40, we'll probably take this down 30mm. Then I'm going to machine away the sides here. Let's go 3D. So we'll be left with, bear with me, I didn't go to the new Art College of Design we'll be left with that sort of shape, like that. We'll then stick a hole through here for our pin to go through, and then we'll machine a couple of slots here so we can bolt it to our plate. Either I'll tap these and we'll bolt it from the bottom, or it'll just be a clearance hole and we can nut and bolt. We'll worry about that later. I'll machine it at the size that I can have the option of tapping it later if I want to go down that route, or like I say, stick a nut and bolt through. We'll leave a little bit of meat on here, so we'll probably come down maybe 25 mil, so that'll leave that at 15. We're taking off 25 there, and the thickness of these two lumps is down to the length of our bolt. There's my bolt gun in there, which I'm planning on using this one, so leave a little bit of nut to get on the end. We'll make that, so if I make that 30 mil from there to there, 30 mil across, that gives us enough to get the nut on the end, which leaves us 60, so off each side. So we're taking 30 mil off here, so that's 30, that's 30 there. I think that works out all right. What we'll do is we'll come back to the table. Ooh, don't get dizzy. Let's have a look. Let's see what we're doing. Come back, come back. There we go. We'll mark this up. I mean, obviously we'll be machining it from the DRO, but sometimes when you're doing stuff like this, a little markup's handy just as a sanity check. So when you are machining it and you think you've got it right in the DRO and it's nowhere near the line that you've marked out, you go question yourself and go, hang on a minute, that ain't right. So we're gonna, what did I say? We're gonna take that down 15 mil on the bottom. So like I say, this is just to give us an idea of what we're working with. There's 10, there's 15. So if we stick that there, so that's your 15 mil that we're coming down to here. Mark there, stick a line across that. I know we've got a couple of random chamfers and some already drilled holes, but I think these holes are going to disappear when we machine off the sides. So we're coming in 30 mil on the sides. I might set that there, 30, which is there. We come in here. Is this right? That looks quite small. Let's mark it out and see if we're anywhere close. 30 mil there. 30 mil there, and that gives us, where center line is here, I say it was 90, so if we mark the center line, 45, that's our center line, C, like that, and then we'll go in a 6 mil slot, so 3 mil either side. So 45 down to 42, which is that side, and 45 plus the 3 is 48. My maths is impeccable. On that side of the line, that gives us a slot. Just clean that up a little bit just so I know what we're doing. That bit we're taking out, and that bit we're taking out. So there we go. So we're going to have the two cheeks here. We're going to basically machine out that lump, which basically gets rid of those holes, gives us enough to tap down and fix it to, gives us enough to tap down and fix it to there. Having said that, this hole here, the slot, I was going a bit deeper, wasn't I? I was going to go down, I didn't actually mark that up. I was going to leave about 10 mil on the bottom. So we'll mark 10mm. We'll take this a bit deeper, basically just to give us a little bit more clearance on the bottom. I don't know, I'll probably end up taking the bottom of this off because it's unnecessary, but I think the counterbalance might be nice to have a little bit on there, because when this releases and it goes ping and that's going to spin around, that's going to be, it already is heavier, it's going to want to sit down and you're going to have to hook it around to reset it. If I've got this tab on the top, it gives you something to get your finger on to pull it over, so I'd like to leave that on. So I'll go as deep as I can with the slot and I'll work out if I need to trim a little bit off the bottom afterwards. So that's why I was going to give myself a little bit more wiggle room on there. So if we come down to 10mm off the bottom, which basically takes it to here. So there we go. Can you see that? Our slot goes down to there, and we've got a cheek up here, and we'll take out that, see how that looks and see how it lines up. That everything? I think it is. Set up the machine, set up some cutters. First things first, let's chuck it up the mill. To the mill. Okay, we're on the mill. I've got my chunky chunk clamped up here. A set of parallels. I'm gonna use the wiggler again. Clock in both sides to find the center, and we'll cut the slot first. I might speed the footage of this up because I'm sure you don't want to in real time watch me cutting the slot and taking the big lump out of a bit of aluminium. If you hate that and you do want to see it, put a comment, and then the next time I do this, I'll do it in real time, I think. So let's get cracking. Right, so that is giving us our centre. Front to back doesn't really matter because we're cutting lumps out of it. Da-da-da-da-dee. Get the depth there. Yep. on the knuckle. Right. So we'll touch off this to get our Z height. Zero that. Well, that didn't work out well. Right. Didn't quite go to plan, but we saved it. While it's clamped up here, I'll get rid of the parallels that are in there, and we'll drill these mounting holes. Drill them 4, 8, 3, 4. F8 6.2mm drill bit, but in case you didn't realise, I lost my reference points because the workpiece slipped in the chuck. I guess I didn't have it cranked up quite tight enough. Silly me. Put that one in it. So we're going to need wiggler again. I mean, to be fair, for what this is, the holes I could do by eye. We're not building a spaceship. But if I do decide to bolt it or drill it, it means that when if I drill holes in the plate, if I accurately know the centres that I'm drilling these at, it'll make it easier to mark up and drill it in the plate. So.
Should we do that? Should probably spot drill, centre drill, something drill. You know what we didn't do? Go back again. We do need a wiggler. Again. What did we forget? We forgot to line up our centre front to back. Because we're doing the whole middle, don't we? See what I mean about being impatient there?
This isn't the most precise work I've ever done, but this is definitely a tribute to Mr. Heath and Mr. Robinson. Something that will be smashed together as fast as possible that does something cool and interesting. Hopefully works. Right, so made a file. Stuff. Eesh. Let's have a look at what we've got. Give it away. There we go. Oh. Where are we? There we are. It looks like a little boat. It's pretty much there. We need to machine the hole through to mount the weary disky thing, and obviously clean it up, deburr it, make it look a bit prettier. Let's see if that fits in the middle. A couple of burrs there, but it fits. A little bit of wiggle room, which is what we wanted, because we wanted some slop in it so it doesn't bind. There's no chance of it catching. Once we get rid of those crappy burrs on the back, that'll drop in nicely. Yeah, okay then. So we'll clean it up, we'll mash that hole in. To the next place. So back at the bench now. I'll be honest, I did a little bit of work and didn't record it. I thought the camera was running, but apparently it wasn't. Not a lot's changed. I did drill the holes that I said I was going to drill. Focus. The through hole there for the bolt. Cleaned up a little bit. So there's a couple of teeny little witness marks from where it slipped in the vise, but it's cleaned up all right. It's all nice and shiny. And a little modification on the disc. Shorten the bottom a little bit and put a little slope on there for where the trigger, if you want to call it, it's probably a sear, is going to catch. So the bolt fits, obviously hasn't got a nut on it. That's free to rotate now in the release. So I've brought this back a little bit there to allow that, because that's how far it would spin, and I've brought that back to make sure this becomes past vertical, so there's no resistance, there's no hindrance for whatever's going to attach to this to release upwards. Shortened that a little bit and sloped it away so there's no chance of it catching on the sear when it retracts and drops down, so that basically the sear is going to sit underneath there, and as that draws back on the linear actuator and the load on this side, I'll go and release. So that's all ready to bolt onto the big plate. All we need to do now is make a mount for the linear actuator and a bar. I'm going to not put the linear actuator directly under that, because I think the load's designed to be linear, and I think although it's not going to be huge, I think it'll be a bit much. So I'm going to make essentially like a little pillow block. I've got a linear bearing. This is from a 3D printer. I've got two of them. I don't think I need two. Little pillow block. I'm going to machine this out of metal, press fit that into there, and then I'll make a little arm which slides in there, attach the linear actuator. That'll be the release, and then all the vertical load will be on this steel pin running in a little linear bearing, and then the linear actuator just has to be linear. We'll catch that in the next video. I think this one's long enough. Thank you very much. See you in part 3.